Well, I asked, where's the beef? Let's call this for what this is. Oh my God! They are so hopelessly woke. How dare you? That is the intellectual capital of the left today. Give me a break. You are now watching the Daily Roundup. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel Daily on this, a Thursday, February 2nd, 2023. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, well, let me tell you a little bit about my co-host. Do you know, folks, that today is International Groundhog Day? And she loves Groundhog Day for only one reason, because PETA hates it. She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. She is Sheila Gunn Reid. Happy Groundhog Day to you, Sheila.
Is that a thing? Happy Groundhog Day? Do you wish people a happy Groundhog Day? I had no idea. I've been getting it wrong for like 43 years. Did you guys, is it going to be a short winter in Ontario for you?
Well, there were mixed opinions. A couple of groundhogs said yes. Others said no. And the one in Quebec died. Right when I think his name was Fred. I never thought of Fred
Frank,
as being really. Pardon me?
Fred or Frank? It was like Frank or Fred La Marmotte or something. The Marmot.
But you know, Sheila, I wasn't kidding around. PETA did release a statement on their website several hours ago, and it says this, quote, Puxawani Phil did not consent to living in a box in a library where he's denied the opportunity to hibernate, dig, burrow, explore, or do anything else that matters to a groundhog. But this is the human being spokesperson for PETA, but I would gladly take Phil's place if it will spare him a tedious life punctuated only by the confusion and terror of being dangled in front of a noisy crowd every year, end quote. You know, Sheila, I got to tell you, contrary to popular belief, animals quite love it in a zoo. The idea you're getting 3 square meals a day, that you don't have to run away from a predator, that you don't have to face what animals do face out in the wild, that being starvation. I mean, this idea that this groundhog is being denied the right to explore. Sheila, do you think groundhogs are explorers by nature?
Have you ever seen them? They're just big, fat, lazy gophers. Like I don't know what they do all day. Yeah. I think if they're in a zoo, they probably live a lot longer than they do in the wild, dealing with predators and stuff like that. I don't know. These people are such fun burglars because I don't know if they're well aware, but the groundhog as a weather prognosticator has already been replaced by a weather app on your phone. Like it's just like a fun day that you do once a year. And these absolute wet blankets have to weigh in every single year to say like, no, there will be no fun had because there's an animal involved. Balzac Billy here in Alberta, by the way, keep your jokes to yourself, David. He also predicted an early spring, which it is impossible because what is it, like 6 more weeks of winter or whatever, 8 more weeks? It's like 13 more weeks of winter at least
where you
here
live.
in Alberta. Yeah, like we don't get to play along with this. It's just like we just want to get in on the fun, but it's never like 6 more weeks of winter. What does that put us to? The middle of March? I've still got snow on the ground May long weekend around these parts.
Oh,
so
are
like
you kidding?
Forget it. No, I'll send you some pictures of my snow pile that's still around May long weekend.
You know, I just would love for one of these organizations to take up an activist group on its offer, Sheila, and say, okay, what's this guy's name? Canavan, next year, we're going to have you dressed up as a groundhog, and we're going to get some weightlifters at the local gym, and they're going to pull you out of a box. And and then all of a sudden, well, wait a minute, guys, I didn't mean it to be taken literally. It's kind of like, you know, every time the Super Bowl comes around, it'll be, you know, a week next Sunday, Sheila, there's always some advertiser. Typically, it's something like Ashley Madison. It's a website I should say, don't ask me how I know this, but it's a website that facilitates affairs amongst married people.
Do you know how I know about it? Do you know how I know about that website? It caught a bunch of labor union activists here in Alberta that were tied to the NDP when the Ashley Madison link happened, and it was quite fun. It was a fun time on Twitter back then when we were like, oh, I knew that name. Is a notable left-wing activist, and that name is tied to the NDP. It was kind of fun.
Oh, that is so scary. But, they'll go to the NFL, and they'll say, we want to buy a spot. And I think 30 seconds of advertising, what's that, $2 million on the Super Bowl US? And the NFL says, no, it's not consistent with the values we want to promote, so we're saying no. Now, Ashley Madison goes to the NFL knowing the answer is no. And then what they do is they release a press release, and it gets picked up all over the world, and they get free millions, of dollars of advertising, Sheila, because look how we're being denied our right to advertise our legal service, blah, 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 blah. So, what I'd like to see the NFL do if they pitch it this year is, okay, get your $2 million check sent to us by registered mail overnight, and you're on, and they'll be like, oh, wait, $2 million for 30 seconds? We thought you were going to deny us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess we're giving PETA the free advertising that they refuse to pay for as we're talking about their fun burglariness. Speaking of people masquerading as hedgehog, groundhog lookalikes, let's go to Doug Ford's Happy Groundhog Day.
Oh, and before we do, did you want to lay down the housekeeping?
Let's just get him first. Let's get the groundhog business out of the way, because the more I look at him, I'm like, yeah, he looks like a marmot. And and I don't mean that to be like mean or anything.
Oh, yes, you do.
No, I just think objectively speaking, the man actually looks like a groundhog, and he's giving a Groundhog Day announcement. It's like when people resemble their dogs and you're like, that's a little on the nose. This is the same thing.
Friends, today is Groundhog Day. Celebrating Groundhog Day is a tradition enjoyed by generations of Ontarians, and each year we look forward to seeing the prediction. Luckily, Wired and Willie did not see a shadow, and we'll be having an early spring. I hope you all have a fantastic Groundhog Day.
It's
Sheila,
enjoyed by generations, is it? Like the day could disappear and no one would ever even know.
No, you're so right. And that resemblance to another species, it reminds me, I can't remember their names, but I know you're a big SCTV fan, and I'm sure much of our audience is too. It was these two pig farmers that they start to resemble pigs in their face. Yeah. Right? Because of all the pork they're eating. So, but by going by that theory, Doug Ford should resemble a cherry cheesecake, wouldn't you say?
He definitely. Well, I mean, he did look like that albino groundhog, did he not? Like, that's not in my head. That's not in my head. Let us know in the comments, people. Also, by the way, I just saw this morning, because I follow all the wrestling pages on Facebook, that the genius died. Lanny Poffo. So,
no.
Yes. So, for those of you who don't know or care about the same things as David and I, because you have better, more grown-up interests, Lanny Poffo was the Macho Man's younger brother.
Yes.
His gimmick was the genius, and he just died. I saw it on Hacksaw Jim Duggan's Facebook page, and it's, you know why this is all very weird is because somehow, some way, the genius, that gimmick, came up on the Gunn show last night, and so I mentioned it. And then I pop open Facebook this morning to check my favorite pages, which is Hacksaw Jim Duggan, obviously. And Lanny Poffo's dead.
And Sheila, I swear to you, just a couple of days ago, I was thinking of that match. It's one of my favorite in terms of being a comedic match. Saturday night main event, the genius wearing his mortarboard and having a blackboard with equations on how to beat Hulk Hogan versus Hulk Hogan. And through a spectacular chaotic chain of events, actually wins the match, right?
Science. We follow the science.
Like it looked like the biggest mismatch in the world of heavyweight fighters in the WWE history. But I I remember laughing so hard at that match.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
I was falling off the couch. That's so sad to hear. How old was he, Sheila?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, maybe late 50s, early 60s, judging by the fact that he was Macho's younger brother.
Yeah.
Maybe Olivia can help us. It's very sad.
It is sad. I have a
Yeah.
book called Tributes by Dave Meltzer.
68?
Pardon me?
He was 68?
Wow.
God, I forget how long ago these wrestling matches were. That's the problem, is because if I start to do the math, then I do the math on myself and I'm like, oh, I'm old. So,
Yeah.
so that's very sad day in wrestling. Yeah, anybody remotely associated with Macho seems to be dead except for Hulk Hogan at this point.
Well,
Yes.
you know what, Sheila, it's a very tough grind. It's typical for wrestlers or ex-wrestlers to die in their 50s, much like top-level cyclists, too, with the cyclists,
It's hard on their heart.
Yeah,
Yeah, all
and
that
taking
gear they're
all that
on.
junk to get
Yeah.
a biological head start, and it is sad. So, you're really a bearer of bad news, and I wonder if that is on the internet. If anyone wants to see Leaping Lanny
Oh, I'm sure it is.
at the height of his popularity on Saturday Night Main Event versus Hulk Hogan, that one never gets stale. I miss that too. These gimmicks, you don't see that in
Oh, I know.
wrestling anymore.
I know. It's just like good guy, bad guy, gross guy, hedonistic guy. I like to go back to like the days of Tatanka and like Demolition. It was fun,
Yeah.
right? Like it was fun. It was a testosterone driven soap opera. Anyways, let's get into the business of the day because
Sure.
I tuned in 2 nights ago to watch Tucker Carlson mock Canada, and I was sorely disappointed because I watched the whole show because I would watch it anyway, but he didn't make fun of us. He made fun of us last night, so we'll get to that in a second. But I should tell everybody what we're doing because we're 12 minutes into the show. We haven't done that. We've talked about wrestling and Groundhog Day. And I think maybe sometimes people come here for the news. I'm not all that sure. So we are on YouTube and Rumble, Odyssey, Twitter, and Getter. Those are the places where we're streaming, where you can find us. But if you want to support the work that we do, might I suggest you watch us over on Rumble or Odyssey, because those 2 platforms allow you to support the work that we do completely willingly because you want the little network that could to keep going in spite of all the internet censorship and how much Justin Trudeau hates us. But we live or die on your support. So if you want to leave a paid chat on Rumble, it's called the Rumble Rant. On Odyssey, it's called the Hyper Chat. And that's a great way to support us, but also sort of take control of the show, because at the end of the show, we'll read your chats to us. So I think those are all the nuts and bolts. Take it away, David.
Well, Sheila, one of your favorite terms, which I've appropriated, by the way, is fun burglar. We talked about how PETA wants to cancel Groundhog Day. Good luck with that. But it seems that a Kitchener school is going to have its way by canceling Valentine's Day. It's all about, well, one part of the rationale is the sugary sweets associated with Valentine's Day that is against their, I guess, healthy eating policy. It was interesting when I read the story, Sheila, that this is not a school board initiative, and they got a really crazy, whacked-out school board in Kitchener-Waterloo. But it comes down to the individual principal. And for some reason, Valentine's Day is, a holiday non grata. It's not really a holiday.
Too hetero for these people.
It's amazing. And I think part of it, because I saw this narrative in recent years that, well, and I remember this bitterly from my elementary school days, but I got over it. I didn't jump off a bridge. The popular kids in class were getting reams of Valentines, and the less popular kids in class, that would be me, is there not even 1, 2? Come on, right? So the whole idea of we must shelter little Johnny and Janie, their self-esteem if they don't get enough Valentine's Day cards compared to the more popular kids in class. But Sheila, isn't that sort of like it's part of the school of hard knocks of growing up that not every day is a bowl of cherries, that you're going to run into disappointment and in the case of sports, not making the team or getting injured, what have you. It, again, I think is this bubble wrapping of these younger generations. Unless they want to say they're transitioning into the opposite sex, then we'll go to bat for them 100%. But Valentine's Day, really? Have you ever had any modicum of offense associated with St. Valentine's Day, Sheila?
No. And these people are insane. You know, like, you don't cancel the whole day. What you do is say, I want you to bring cards for everybody so that nobody's left out. You know, that's the easy way to do it. Cards are cheap. You can make them at home. You can print them off on the printer. It's not a thing that is really a financial hardship. It's a couple of bucks. But you just say, we're going to exchange cards. If you are going to bring cards, please bring enough for everybody so that nobody is left out. But instead, these people cancel the whole day. And I do like their reason. It's sometimes celebrated with candy. And then that Record article that we used, they go back to like debunk. They're like, it was a pagan holiday that the Catholic Church stole. Give me a break. And anyway, like that they had to include that in their article about the cancellation of Valentine's at this school because, I don't know, social justice nonsense. But anyways, these people who claim that we can't have candy one day a year, as you were talking, I was like, you know what, let's see what their hot lunch program's like. See if they really actually care about nutrition. And as it turns out, we've got carbohydrate laden Thursday lunch options, Subway, Boston pizza, Swiss Chalet, marble slab frozen yogurt, and a pizza program. So I'm not so sure I buy their excuse that we're doing this because of nutrition.
And Sheila, I look at it the other opposite way. What is the next step for somebody from the school board or the school to visit parents' homes and say, hi there, will just be a minute. We just want to see what's in your refrigerator to see what you're serving your kids. I mean, is that the next step of the nanny state being evolved, so to speak, in terms of controlling our lives and making sure nothing nasty happens to us or is ingested by us?
I want to see what's in the fridge of this principal. I want to come by and do a nutritional assessment of your fridge, if you don't mind, while you're banning little kids from having candy on one day. And look, I don't eat candy. There's not a lot of garbage in my house for my kids, but Valentine's, like, I'm not also the nutrition police when it comes to like, go have fun, have some birthday cake, have a cupcake. If it's somebody's birthday at school, I don't like, that's being a little kid, as long as, you know, like good choices are made the rest of the time. So I would like to see what this person looks like. I want to know their waist size while they're telling little kids that they can't have any Valentine's Day candies. And, you know, while some may see the modern holiday as a day of innocent romance, it's been banned in countries such as Iran and Pakistan, and has been harshly criticized in other Muslim countries where opponents argue the celebration goes against Islamic culture. Now, as the demographic makeup of public schools changes in Canada, the types of holidays traditionally celebrated in schools are coming under the microscope. Okay, so since they banned it in Pakistan, we should ban it here?
Yeah.
Is that,
yeah.
That's what they're trying to tell me? No, I'm going to celebrate it harder.
Yeah. I mean, as if the current regimes in Pakistan and Iran are the moral compasses that we should take lessons from.
The religious police, blasphemy, arresting people. If you've got a Bible, you're going straight to jail. Yeah, thanks. We should do more of that here. Is that what this principal wants me to believe?
You know, once upon a time, that principal would be in a rubber room before we deinstitutionalized, people from asylums, for lack of a better word. And now they are writing the policy and the dictates for what children should follow. And that article brings up Pakistan and Iran without any kind of editorializing. Oh, by the way, there's a whole host of things you'll get killed for over there, such as not wearing your hijab properly. Yeah.
So, by the way, so we have to cancel Valentine's to be careful about Islamic cultures that are now at the school. But we also simultaneously have to have a gay-straight alliance where we don't tell parents the kids are in it at the same school. Could these people pick a lane? Are we going with full Sharia or are we going with full tolerance? Because I'm somewhere down the middle of the road here. They're not.
No, oh no. And you know what, Sheila, it reminds me, it was about 10 years ago. It received worldwide publicity. I remember writing something about it myself. It was a school, I'm going by memory, so please don't quote me, but here's the gist of the matter. It was a school in Massachusetts, an elementary school, that was going to rebrand and rejig St. Patrick's Day. And some of the concerns were, well, that saint thing, that's very Christian, that's very Catholicly, and also St. Patrick's Day traces its origin, of course, back to Ireland. We not all of our students have Irish roots. We have Sikhs and Muslims and Jews in our school. And what killed me, Sheila, I don't know if you remember this story. Do you remember the new name for St. Patrick's Day?
Green Day or something.
Oh, Green Day.
Green Day, yes.
Now, wait a minute. Stop the presses. You're trying to dial back Irish culture, right? And you call it O''Green? That is inherently an Irish surname, the O''. There's not a lot of O Muhammads out there, Sheila, or O Singhs, right? I mean, do these guys not even understand the insanity of their progressive woke policies?
No, they don't. Let's go continue the war on Valentine's Day, because this next one was weird. It ended up in my email inbox yesterday, so I wrote it up, and then I got one random hate email about it this morning, and I'll get to that in a second. But it is the Saskatchewan Science Centre. It's holding a special Valentine's Day drag queen science night, because when I think science and serious science, I think some dude from Canada's Drag Race, which is what you're getting if you sign up to this thing at the Science Center in Saskatchewan, which is it's not private, but it's not for profit, and it gets a whole whack of money from all levels of government, including the feds, the municipal government in Regina, the government of Saskatchewan, multiple crown corporations in Saskatchewan, as well as Farm Credit Canada for some reason. I don't know. But anyways, again, if friends at home, if you're queasy about this sort of stuff, and I am, I'm sorry in advance, but it's $40 for members of the Science Center or $50 for non-members. And the reason I'm making this clear is because this is about the email that I got from activities for this adult science night. So grown-ups, not kids, but I just think it's weird. Will include luge, investigate and learn the different types of lubricants, which makes the heavy objects go down the ramp faster. Condom cannons, create mini vortex generators and use dry ice to test the strength of condoms. Broken heart dissections, can you figure out what made these hearts break? Boozy liquid nitrogen ice cream, science is helpful for a lot of things, but who knew it was so good at making special ice cream? So I get an email in my inbox this morning saying, it's from Danielle. I'm not going to say Danielle's last name because, who cares? But Danielle writes, "Hi, Sheila. Congrats on doing the bare minimum to write an article, i.e. copy and pasting what's on the website. I dare you to include some facts." I did. I drilled down on who sponsors this stuff and everything. If you know what those are, ... And then Danielle goes on to say, "Fact. It's an event for adults." Did I not just read to you where I said it's an adult science night? Okay, so I did do that. Okay, perfect. Danielle, next time you do the bare minimum and read the article you're complaining about, because she says, who attend willingly as they have paid for a ticket. Yeah, I even included the ticket prices in the article in case you're wondering. There will be no children present. Keep up the mediocre work. Well, my work might be mediocre, but at least I put some in. And Danielle didn't even bother to read the article, which she or he, they, is complaining about. So good job, Danielle.
Yeah, it's spectacular. Well, first of all, from what you said, Sheila, my biggest surprise in that story is that it is adults only. Because that's, unfortunately, that is a twist in the drag queen narrative, because the word all ages is part and parcel of this. Secondly, what a lame way to link it to science, when you're listing all those activities like the science of lubricants, right? So there's some sort of, dubious connection between a science center and a drag queen show. But you know what? You could have all the science you want about lubricants and condoms without having the drag queen there. And my last thought, Sheila, and I've said this over and over again, because in the last few years, this drag queen mayhem is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, is this: why is it okay for a man to depict himself as a grotesque caricature of a female and basically do a striptease? Whereas if I went to this science center or a mall or a library, you name it, and I said, listen, I have a female friend. She works at, I don't know, the Zanzibar or the Brass Rail or For Your Eyes Only. Don't ask me how I know this, but these are all Toronto strip clubs.
You're just rattling those off, aren't you?
Which I do not patronize, for the record. But do you mind if I bring her in and she does, a little vaudeville routine, shakes her booty and does the dance of the seven veils or what have you? I bet you that shut down lickety-split. So, Sheila, really, I'm asking you, I'm not even trying to make a joke out of this. Why is it okay for a man pretend to be a female stripper to perform at these venues, but a biological female stripper is verboten?
I don't know. And frankly, my only concern is I don't want to pay for any of this. There's so much public money. Like, if you want to do this at a club, as long as kids aren't involved, look, I don't like it. I'm not going to patronize it. But as long as kids aren't involved and the unwilling taxpayer is not funding this grotesque display, okay, fine. But this is a publicly funded institution answering questions about science nobody asked in the most vulgar of ways, and not even a real scientist is involved. The drag queen involved is a TikToker who uses her social media influence to entertain audiences worldwide. They couldn't even get a fake science guy like Bill Nye, who would probably happily dress as a woman to, get a pat on the back from the rest of Hollywood.
Well, maybe I should dust off my Halton District School Board breasts and attend that venue. Or would I? No, don't do that. Okay.
You know what? Maybe. I mean, it's a $50 ticket. I'm assuming you're not a member of the Science Center, so
I am not a member. And there was a punchline just dangling over home plate, which I dare not.
Stop. Let's go to before we get into World of Trouble. Let's go to an ad break, and then we'll come back with the Tucker clip, which was gold.
Excellent.
I am speaking to you at a moment of grave crisis, when violent and fanatical men are attempting to destroy the unity and the freedom of Canada.
But after weeks of dangerous and unlawful activities, after weeks of people being harassed in their neighborhoods and small businesses forced to close,
as democracy flourishes in Canada,
we don't always agree, and that's okay.
Because individual liberty is cherished in Canada.
Our government will always defend freedom of expression and freedom of peaceful assembly.
It has now been demonstrated to us by a few misguided persons.
After evidence of increased ideologically motivated violent extremism activity across the country,
just how fragile a democratic society can be,
it became clear that local and provincial authorities needed more tools to restore order and keep people safe.
These are matters of the utmost gravity, and I want to tell you what the government is doing to deal with them.
The federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act.
The public's legitimate right to know why the government proclaimed an emergency and whether the actions it took were appropriate.
It is our view that there was no justification whatsoever to invoke the Emergencies Act.
It's so tough to watch. There's no reason for that. They were literally running the horses through the crowd.
The police came straight to me and he targeted me and he took his gun of tear gas and he actually shot me directly in my legs.
Was it worth invoking the Emergencies Act, ma'am, to trample on the rights and freedoms of Canadians?
Why do you think excessive honking means that the government should strip citizens away from their rights?
Our next and final witness is Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Order à l'ordre.
Oh boy, Sheila, I can hardly wait to see that documentary, Key and Simone. You know you're going to get top quality for him. By the way, he's been filling in for the last 3 weeks for super producer Efren Monsanto, who is on the other side of the world on a well-deserved vacation. Virtually no one works harder than Efren. I said virtually because, of course, I didn't want to exclude the big boss man from the hardest worker in the company, or you yourself, Sheila Gunn Reid. And but I got to tell you, looking at those clips, I know I'm going off on a tangerine here, but what is it with Chrystia Freeland that she cannot stand still? It's almost as though, given the angle, the camera angle, Sheila, it looks like Justin Trudeau is the performer and Chrystia Freeland is the ventriloquist dummy. I don't know. It's so distracting. Her bouncing around in her head, almost falling. I guess she has so much gray matter in her head. Her neck can barely keep her head up. But that's besides the point. This is going to be a fantastic documentary. I just know it.
It is. We're just putting the finishing touches on it right now, Kian and I, and it's incredible. It tells the story of all the time that our team spent in Ottawa documenting the Trucker Commission and things you may have forgotten about as I was watching it. And I watched it every single day from beginning to end, tweeted much of it, but things that you just forgot because there was so much involved. Yeah, Chrystia Freeland, by the way, I like to watch her with the sound off because then you really get a full picture of just how jiggy that lady is. It's like when your inner demons want to be your outer ones and she's trying to keep them inside. That's what I think is happening there. She's just wrestling with her inner demons who just want to get out. Let's go to Tucker Carlson. A couple nights ago, I don't know, maybe last week, he joked, and he said it wasn't a joke, but it's clearly a joke. And nobody's rolling tanks into Ottawa unless you are David Lametti, probably. And he joked hey, and it was more of a thought experiment, frankly. And that's why everybody's outraged, is because if you do the thought experiment, you realize, oh, we are doing something crazy here. So the thought experiment, he said, was, if we are sending all this money to Ukraine, where we really don't have any real interest there, unless you have a bunch of money you want to launder, if we care and we're arming the Ukrainians to fight this oppression of Russia, why aren't we rolling into Canada and liberating them from their out-of-control government that is stomping all over their civil liberties, arresting peaceful protesters, censoring the internet? I'm old enough to remember, last year, a year and a half ago, when the Cuban government started censoring the internet to stop the protests that were happening there. And I think the Americans were able to sort of reconnect them from Florida. And everybody thought, oh, this is you can't strip people's access to the internet away because you're stripping away their free speech, and you can't treat political dissidents that way. Well, that's what C11 is going to do to us here in Canada. It's going to limit what we can say on the internet. And so Tucker Carlson said, look, if we're doing this for Ukraine, why can't we do something for Canada? We share the world's largest undefended border. We really should be paying attention to what's happening up there. We share a lot of the same Western values, or at least we used to. And the left lost its mind. They lost its mind because to do the thought experiment reveals the hypocrisy. So instead of doing the thought experiment, you have to be fake outraged, which is what happened. And the NDP and the Liberals continue to embarrass us on the international stage, as you'll see in this clip from the House of Commons from 3 nights ago, I think. Monday, maybe.
Or Hamilton Centre, who will be getting up first.
Mr. Speaker, after consultation with the parties in the House, if you seek it, I believe you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. That given the rise of far-right and associated violent extremism led to the attempted insurrection in the United States, the House condemns recent comments made by Fox News personality Tucker Carlson, in which he suggests U.S. armed forces liberate Canada from the current Prime Minister.
All those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. Nay, I'm afraid we don't have unanimous consent. The honourable
Okay, so do we have the Tucker clip before we go? Because we posted it last night. Tucker responded, and I had tuned in 2 nights ago because I'm like, Tucker's going to respond. It's going to be great. But he didn't. But he responded last night with the mockery that man so rightly deserves. So let's watch this before we start commenting.
We're talking to our friend David Azarad recently for an interview on Fox Nation, and the topic of Canada came up. David Azarad was born and raised in Montreal, but like a lot of ambitious and freedom-loving people, he fled later to the United States. And because all the people who care about their own rights have left, Canada under Justin Trudeau has become effectively a dictatorship. And we don't like dictatorships. We're America. We liberate dictatorships. That's what we do. So we asked the obvious question, why don't we just liberate Canada? Here's that conversation. Why should we stand back and let our biggest trading partner, the country with which we share the longest border, and actually, I could just say a great country. I love Canada. I've always loved Canada because of its natural beauty. Why should we let it become Cuba? Like, why don't we liberate it? We're spending all this money to liberate Ukraine from the Russians. Why are we not sending an armed force north to liberate Canada from Trudeau? And I mean it.
Well, I don't know.
But you don't have to answer.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm there yet with you.
I'm just talking myself into a frenzy here. It's a fair question, and honestly, we thought the Canadians would be flattered because they're always flattered when you talk about them. They're like stalkers. You don't know they exist, but they've got pictures of you in their dorm room. So if you do a Canada joke on TV, they go absolutely crazy. They don't really know how to handle it or what it means, but it doesn't matter. They're excited. And that's true even in the Canadian Parliament. Apparently, there's so little going on in Canada, like civil liberties, that if you tell a joke about Canada, they go bonkers. Watch this Canadian, quote, member of Parliament try to get some kind of resolution passed condemning this show.
Mr. Speaker, after consultation with the parties in the House, if you seek it, I believe you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. That given the rise of far-right and associated violent extremism led to the attempted insurrection in the United States, the House condemns recent comments made by Fox News personality Tucker Carlson, in which he suggests U.S. armed forces liberate Canada from the current Prime Minister.
All those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. Nay, I'm afraid we don't have unanimous consent.
By the way, it failed, and we don't want to be too picayune or anything, but we did not suggest the armed forces liberate Canada. You're flattering yourself, Canadian Member of Parliament. We wouldn't need the armed forces. A couple of your college roommates just round up the sled dogs and you wouldn't be able to move. We're not actually going to do it just yet. It's something to think about. Settle down.
Love Tucker Carlson, Sheila, even though we can't get his specialty channel in Canada.
No.
Which speaks volumes to what he's talking about when it comes to liberalization, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was funny because when he is, first of all, he makes fun of Canada because we're, have dictatorial tendencies these days. And so what is the natural reflex of the Canadian left? To respond in the most dictatorial way possible by renouncing the free speech of a political commentator in a free country in the House of Commons. Good job, guys.
No, you're so right. And the real reason why the U.S. wouldn't come to liberate Canada is in terms of the Biden Democrats, Sheila. What's to liberate? I mean, the Trudeau Liberals and the Biden Democrats, that's two sides of the same coin. All the progressive crap you see happening via the Justin Trudeau Liberals, it's happening stateside by the Biden Democrats. Now, if Trump was still in office, now we're talking a different ball game. But, why is it that there's such a lack of a sense of humor of those on the left, Sheila? They're always so, not only a lack of sense of humor, they're the ones prone to violence. Love trumps hate. And if you don't agree, I'm going to smash you in the face. I mean, it's unbelievable. And maybe what Tucker has to do is, I don't know, when he's speaking in a facetious manner, when he's speaking sarcastically or with tongue firmly lodged in cheek, maybe he should pick up a little flag, like a yellow flag, to visually indicate to people, I don't really mean this. We're not talking about Abrams tanks rolling up on Wellington Street.
No, again, that's a David Lametti idea. And when David, by the way, when he claimed that was a joke, everyone was like, you guys shouldn't take it so seriously. That's a joke. Yep. But when Tucker Carlson does it, they renounce him in the House of Commons. So again, pick a lane, lefties. You got to pick a lane here. Are we against tanks rolling into Ottawa, or are we for tanks rolling into Ottawa? Or are we okay with jokes? But the left, they are beyond parody. And it doesn't matter if this were a joke or not, because they routinely cancel comedians for telling jokes that sort of poke fun at the left. But all day long, they will bash the right. You cannot turn on late night TV, although I don't know why anybody would watch it except for Gutfeld. Why anybody, you turn it on and it's nothing but bashing and making fun of half the country. Yep. All the time. But if you punch back once, they lose their minds. And moreover, to my point that the left is beyond parody, I was absolutely convinced, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Finnish figure skater was a joke. I was like, this is a joke. This is a joke. This is a guy poking fun at, because
do we have that clip?
Normally, and I said this to Tamara, when at first I heard, this guy figure skater performed, trans figure skater performed this thing, I was like, oh dang, because I hadn't seen this clip yet, right? So I was like, okay, great. Just like Leah Thomas, some power skating former hockey player a la Timu Solani is going to come out, land 3 quads, do a backflip, and steal the day from the ladies again. No, the day was still stolen from the ladies through this spectacle. And the most shocking part of all of it for me was that they were able to find the one guy in Finland who can't skate. Like, that's the shocking part to me. But I was convinced this was a joke because, how could that be real? But it is real because the left is beyond parody. How do you make fun of them anymore? How do you do it?
Oh, Sheila, I'm sorry. I saw that clip on the weekend. I almost teared up. I was laughing so hard. But you know what? Let's discuss, too, about the double standard. The picture that Tucker was devilishly using to depict our prime minister was Justin in full blackface. And I keep saying, there's 2 points I want to make about that. Could you imagine if a single photo of a single time, even on Halloween, say, if Stephen Harper had donned blackface, we'd still be talking about it right now. He'd still be condemned as a racist. The other thing, and I'm surprised so many people miss this point, But when you look at the photos, when you look at the videos of Prime Minister Trudeau donning blackface, and sometimes it's more than blackface. Sometimes he's covering his arms and legs in black dye, like he is all in. But he's typically sticking his tongue out, like a dog panting. And I wonder, Sheila, and again, I'm not making a joke about this, is this how Prime Minister Justin Trudeau looks upon black people? That they're akin to canines, that they're panting with their tongue always sticking out? Because why is he always doing that, Sheila? It doesn't make sense to me.
Remember my joke in the morning meeting that this is Black History Month? And so congratulations to us for having the first Black Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, multiple times. Let's hit an ad break, and then let's go to climate anxiety, Olivia, afterwards, because I want to hit everything that's in the YouTube headline, and I cannot really go late because I have an interview at 12:15 my time, pre-scheduled. Okay. So let's hit that ad break, please.
If you want to look good and shine like me, you can do so at our store. Go to ribbonnewsstore.com. On this website, you have so much different style to wear, as this one, my favorite one, Justin Castro. With my code Alexa10, you will have 10% off on your next purchase. So don't hesitate, go now and look so good like me.
Okay,
Sheila, I've recorded a new Justin Castro TV ad. It was weeks ago. I was complimenting Key and Simone, and now I'm going to, jab him a little, poke him a little. Where is that final cut of my ad? That's what I want to know.
Oh, he was filling in for Efron, who is still gone, and making a documentary, and watching all of our videos.
He should have got up extra early to work on my ad.
That's what I do. That's what I do. I literally am like, well, I got a lot to do. I'll just get up at 5. Get in front of the computer.
No, but because I think that one's going to be a good one. But it's
going to be great.
Yes. So I think you mentioned just before the ad break, Sheila, climate change anxiety, and somehow this is linked to caffeinated drinks? What?
Is it? Oh, it is too.
Well, it said at Simon Fraser University, there's seminars that are recommending students reduce caffeinated drinks in order to help them deal with the anxiety associated with climate change. This ties into something we talked about 2 weeks ago, I think, Sheila, and you did a written piece, I believe, about researchers saying that drinking coffee is hastening climate change too.
Yes.
And we should give that up. I bet you these scientists were drinking coffee as they wrote these research
100%.
papers. Yeah, and B, what about all those people in the world from the supermarkets that sell coffee, the cafes that serve you at the table, to the farmers in third world nations that pick the coffee beans? What about that? Did they ever think about that? I mean, where are their, restitutions when we put an entire multi-billion-dollar industry out of business? Because somehow me having a cup of Joe in the morning is bringing on climate change? Sheila, how do you connect those dots?
I don't. And I don't know, like, they're complaining about climate anxiety, but these are the same people who infected all these young people with climate anxiety by telling them the world is going to end in like 12 years or 8 years or whatever it is. And how dare you for living your comfortable Western lifestyle, and your SUV is going to spell the end of the world, and your dad's job in the oil patch, which pays for you to go to a university where you're being brainwashed, that's also going to end the world. I was just looking at this. The article is from True North, by the way. And it says it's all part of a presentation that calls on students to build resilience by embracing healthy thoughts, as well as practicing self-care by eating well, exercising, getting good sleep, spending time outdoors, and not using drugs or alcohol to deal with pain. Well, you locked them down. You made them anxious. You keep telling them that the world's going to end, and you have normalized drug use completely. Anyway, it continues on. and you give them bad dietary advice. Let's keep going. The presentation also tells students they should reduce their caffeine intake, take breaks, join groups, and make, quote, practical preparations for the impacts of climate change. So calm down, but also start climate prepping. Are you like, do you not see how you're making these kids anxious? And it says use creative expression such as art, dance, and music. Okay, so you can creative dance, like interpretive dance, the climate change away. Good job. No wonder that half the young people are crazy and on anti-anxiety medicine. This is what they're doing to them when you send them to an expensive university.
You know what? When you said interpretive dance, Sheila, all I can think of is that Howard Stern Whack Pack character, Underdog Lady, because that's what she does. She goes to, there's something a little mentally wrong with her. I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that, because she goes to competitions where little girls are, and this woman is probably by now in her 50s or 60s, and does interpretive dance and often wins a trophy and is proud of that. But I'm saying, you know what? If you're going up against an 8-year-old girl, is it really a level playing?
Reminds me of Kramer was telling everybody about how he was doing karate. And they're like, oh, we'll go to the dojo and watch you. And he's fighting 8-year-olds. Same thing. I found some lady who does like on TikTok. I mostly only have TikTok to watch Hasidic Jewish dance parties. It like brings me a lot of joy. But this woman on TikTok, she does, and again, I thought it was a joke. I literally thought it was a joke. She does interpretive dances to pro-convoy TikToks. So she responds by doing interpretive dance. And I was like, this is the funniest thing ever. And then I realized it was real. This is what somebody actually does to combat the convoy hate, was she does interpretive dance TikToks. And
I heard something about that. Do we actually have video footage of that? I haven't seen it, but anytime I see interpretive dance, I mean, to me, just the term interpretive dance to dancing is kind of like the term Yoko Ono to music. You know what I'm saying? It's hellacious. It starts out bad and proceeds to get horrid. You know what I'm saying? So if we do dig that clip up before the end of the show, let's see it. Because, and by the way, folks, I know it's online. Underdog Lady from the Howard Stern Show at an outdoor parade being filmed and asked questions by people. She's the only one not in on the joke. And you can see her interpretive dance of a mermaid.
Oh my goodness. I put interpretive dance right up there with Finnish transgender figure skating. They're in the same bucket as far as I'm concerned of beauty. Let's get to some of these chats. We've got a few.
Sure.
Okay, we've got Rat Alberta gives us $10. Should the Liberal Party of Canada and the NDP somehow manage to form another government after the next election, what can we do to stop the World Economic Forum global government? I think this stuff starts closer to home. Because while we always look at the macro government, right? We look at the provincial government, we look at the federal government, but where these World Economic Forum policies, like the 15-minute cities, where they build the infrastructure in advance to trap you in your neighborhood like you're in an ant farm. They have to start with the building codes first, right? And where does that happen? At the municipal level, when they want to infect your kids with climate hysteria so that they grow up to adopt the World Economic Forum ideas and eat the bugs. That starts at school, right? That starts with the same sort of bureaucrats that cancel Valentine's Day. The good news is that is the level of government, that municipal school board level, where you can get access to the politicians.
Yep.
And if you get the vote out, you can make the quickest amount of change by eliminating that stuff. And, you know, these very expensive climate change policies, they're not coming from Justin Trudeau. I mean, he's bringing in his own for sure. He's got the carbon tax. But like the multi-billion dollar, $90 billion climate policy stuff that like generations of your children are going to be paying for, that's coming from Calgary City Hall, Ottawa City Hall, Edmonton City Hall. So I guess it's sort of good and bad. Yes, there is a very strong chance that the Liberals and the NDP will continue to make this bizarre coalition to control your life. but you can make a difference at the local level because that's where a lot of these, globalist agendas are coming at you.
And and I'd like to touch upon Rad Alberta's assumption of this Liberal NDP alliance, because I will say this, Sheila, one of the factors that's in favor of, if you're going to vote for the Conservative Party of Canada, for example, you want a strong NDP. You want the left vote split. And right now, I don't even think the NDP is a credible party under Jagmeet Singh. And it's also this two-headed dragon. There's the Jagmeet Singh NDP guys wearing Armani suits and driving BMW M3s and drinking $10 coffees at Starbucks. And then there's the old school NDP, which was all about, the bucket brigade and the hard hat contingent and supporting projects like building pipelines. So it's a two-headed dragon with it's a complete dichotomy. And this act of condemning Trudeau on an almost daily basis only to prop him up in the House, come on. This is a joke. So, this is something that plays in favor, God forbid, of the Liberals getting another mandate whenever that election is. And, well, that's the other factor, too. It could be 2025. That is an eternity in terms of politics. How does today even dream of what tomorrow will bring? But it would be good to see the NDP go its own way, to paraphrase a Fleetwood Mac song lyric, and get a strong leader. Because I remember once upon a time something, Sheila, that I thought I would never see in my lifetime, and that was the NDP actually becoming the official opposition. Do you remember that, going back some 10 years ago? When the Liberals were the third party? I never thought I would ever see that. So it is doable, but not with that guy as the head of the party. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Thomas Mulcair days, where as a Conservative, you cheered for Thomas Mulcair because he was also the Rolex expensive suit socialist, but he leaned into that and he kept the crazies at bay. Yep. Now it's just a bunch of woke crazies led by a very shallow man in a suit and a Rolex. Thomas Mulcair, he offered something different than the Liberals. I fundamentally disagreed with him on almost everything. Yep. But I didn't think he was a crazy person. And he was necessary to split the progressive vote. Now there's no need to split the progressive vote because it just coalesces around the Liberals because the NDP don't offer an alternative. And you need a strong NDP to split that vote for a Conservative to win. So I guess what I'm saying is, as a Conservative, I cheer for the NDP to find their way again.
And really, as you say, if you are both woke and crazy, isn't the party you should be a part of the Green Party? I mean, it doesn't get any woke and crazier than that.
Again, what do they offer that you can't get from the Liberals? That's the problem. The
Liberals
have decided to just consume the entire left, and it's a strategy that's working for them. I think it's horrible, but it is a very effective strategy for them. Also, back to the point, Rat Alberta, you're an Albertan. Right now we have a premier who is facing re-election, but she is opposed to the World Economic Forum and these globalist agendas. And she's doing her best to insulate Alberta from Justin Trudeau. And also, if you're in a province, Saskatchewan's doing much the same, by the way, quietly with less fanfare than Alberta. But, you need to pressure your provincial governments out there to say, like, you need to exert your provincial authority underneath the Constitution to protect us from the federal government when they reach into provincial jurisdiction. That's a big thing too.
And Sheila, before you move on, the very name Rat Alberta, is that purposefully ironic? Because I keep hearing from Albertans, it's like a source of pride, and they always bring it up. We're the only rat-free province, right? Are you, how do you know that? Are you telling me there's not some dive bar in Edmonton that in the storage room there's at least one rat, eating the Cheetos or whatever? I mean, I can't conceive of any real estate in the world being 100% rat-free. I'm sorry. I don't buy it.
I've never seen one in my entire life.
That doesn't mean they're not there.
No, look, you would think they would be in a grain bin, right?
Yeah.
No, they are not. They sometimes do get outbreaks of rats, but it gets contained to, I think it's the Medicine Hat municipal landfill. Because it's so close to Saskatchewan. I think they bring in garbage sometimes from Saskatchewan. So they might get an outbreak there, but it is very quickly contained, because think of the devastation it would do to our agricultural sector, right? It would just be devastating.
Oh, for sure.
And sometimes I remember hearing stories of, because I have I know some people who work at the airport, that they might accidentally find one in a pop machine at the airport because they might come in on the cargo. And so we have a rat patrol that patrols in Saskatchewan so that they never even get here. So we take it pretty seriously. And I saw a National Geographic map once of like where the Norway rat lives. And it was like the entire like world except this little like cutaway of Alberta. And I was like, pride.
It's so unbelievable to me. It's like, are you telling me, Sheila Gunn Reid, that a free-range pack of rats in Saskatchewan, they start moving westward, and they go, oh, wait, guys, that's the Saskatchewan-Alberta border. We can't go in there. That's non-rat territory. No, sir, not buying it.
I dare you to come and find some. Like I said, the rat patrol works in Saskatchewan, so they never get to here.
Maybe I'll bring a rat with me. What do you think about that, Sheila Gunn Reid?
I don't even think we can keep them as pets here. I don't think so. Like, I think we're not allowed. Anyway, let's keep going because I don't want to run into my next interview. Cheryl Don V, $5. My son was in grade 3 and I told him everyone gets a Valentine. He came home with one left. I asked him why. He said the boy was in I asked him why. He said the boy was in witness protection. Turns out the kid was a Jehovah's Witness. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, if only Art Linkletter were around. Remember that? Kids say the darndest things.
No, I don't. I'm under 75, so I don't remember, David. Okay, JD Bedbrook gives us $5 and says, woke at work in our schools. How do we stop these idiots? I think I just gave that advice. You got to get involved. Show up at the school board. Get involved in your school board elections. When they come knocking on your door, ask them questions. Go to the debates, because that's how you stop these people from poisoning your children with their horrible, progressive, anti-human ideas. Am I frozen? I was.
No, you're okay now, Sheila. No, and you know what, Sheila? We have, it's not a school board issue, but it is, again, local municipal politics. We have a story coming up about how it seems certain that Oshawa on Monday night was where you're not allowed to feed homeless people under penalty of fine. They were going to ban tobogganing in all but 2 of the hills in the city of Oshawa. And there was such a ruckus by the people of Oshawa, by email, text message, phone calls, social media postings. Guess what? The proposal went down to defeat on Monday, so you can continue to toboggan in the People's Republic of Oshawa. The point is, if there was no backlash, I am certain that toboggan ban would have gone through, but it is dead in the water or dead on the hill, as the case may be. So, as Sheila said, get involved at the local level.
Yes. Next one comes to us from Aaron Burton, 32, $5. Missed you yesterday. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Welcome back, David. Sheila, I emailed you. You alluded to the truth behind DDT the other day. Please explain. So everything you mostly know about DDT is wrong.
Yep.
So, and African developing nations, they want to be allowed to use DDT because malaria is killing their children.
Yep.
And they're not allowed because it's banned for that use. Instead, they say have a mosquito net when you sleep. Well, that doesn't help you during the day when you're being bitten by mosquitoes. And it's based on, I think it was a book called The Silent Spring. And basically the book was a complete fiction. It never purported to be like a book about what actually happened. It was called Silent Spring, and it was written with the accusation that spraying for DDT or spraying with DDT was causing the songbirds to die, causing the spring to be silent. That wasn't a thing, but it was enough for the EPA to ban DDT, and which causes millions of illnesses and deaths every single year in the developing world. So a bunch of white liberal environmentalists here in the Western world decided that this book was reality and not a fiction. And because of that, kids in the developing world die and get sick every single year. And,
I hate the EPA.
I hate it. Ghostbusters had the EPA right. I just brought up this thing. Malaria scientists and officials with responsibility for malaria control programs see great value in DDT. The Minister of Health in Namibia says, unfortunately, because of the stigma associated with insecticides and DDT in particular, we are often left to defend these insecticides alone. So Namibia is saying, please give us DDT.
Yeah.
If we are to achieve our goals of malaria elimination, though, we are going to need a more robust and global effort to defend the tools we need to get there. Also, Health Minister of Guyana says that DDT is the most effective and affordable. This is another thing, too. It is affordable. It is dirt cheap. We have to control malaria. The global response to the burgeoning malaria rates in the world should allow for DDT residual spraying. 100%. Everything you know about DDT is wrong.
Well, that's the EPA for you, Sheila. They killed DDT, and then they killed the muscle car. What's to love?
Yeah, and they ruined the Ghostbusters business. It's terrible. We're all cut up.
Oh, fantastic. And I know you have to go. So, well, Sheila, thank you so much. And also thank you to super producer Olivia behind the board and everyone that tuned in, and especially those who gave us a contribution. Much appreciated. I believe Sheila and I will be back here tomorrow in this same space, in this same time, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So in the meantime, folks, stay safe and stay sane.
Ezra Levant for Rebel News. I am in the frosty Alberta city of Lethbridge. It's just after 9 a.m. Behind me is a crowd of almost 100 people. They've gathered outside the courthouse here in Lethbridge because Pastor Arthur Pawlowski is on trial for a absurd, politically motivated mischief charge against him for supporting the trucker blockade at Coutts, Alberta a year ago. It's bizarre because Arthur Pawlowski himself did not blockade. He did not stop traffic. He came to give a sermon, a kind of pep talk to them. He certainly didn't incite violence. He never has. He's a peaceful political protester, and yet this marks close to 20 court appearances for Arthur Pawlowski since he started defying the lockdowns almost 3 years ago. This trial is scheduled for 2 days. It'll be interesting to see if it goes the duration or even if it goes at all. Arthur Pawlowski has a perfect record of defending against these matters. He did lose one case, but that was overturned 3-0 on appeal. It's becoming increasingly apparent that the charges against him are not in the public interest and do not have a reasonable likelihood of conviction. It'll be interesting to see if the vendetta of the prosecutor is as clear to the judge as it is to the people behind me. At Rebel News, Arthur Pawlowski became our first client of what we called our Fight the Fines project. Since then, that's grown to 2,100 cases of people we have defended against prosecutions based on their civil rights and civil liberties during the lockdown. If you want to support the defense of Arthur Pawlowski, you can do so by going to our crowdfunding page at savearthur.com. You'll actually get a charitable tax credit from the Democracy Fund for that. I'll be here all day, live tweeting the case if my fingers don't get too frosty. And hopefully we'll have a chance to catch up with Sarah Miller and Chad Haggerty, two of the lawyers who have been defending Arthur for almost 3 years. I'm excited to be here because I think that the courts are getting a little bit tired of this overhang from the lockdown era. There was a kind of civil liberties bonfire. Everyone was in on it. But here we are now, literally a year after the events for which Arthur was charged. And I think the courts are sobering up, and the public is too, and realizing that the lockdowns were an overbearing, overweening reaction. I look forward to what I hope is the latest acquittal for Arthur